him. Just when we thought he was gone, Zach Wilson is back, baby. We got to go through. We have to reevaluate what we are doing for our lineups tomorrow and on Sunday. We're going to be looking at every injury update that we've had for the past couple days and all the most recent news. But before we get into anything, as always, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. If you're watching this as a video later on, subscribe to the channel, fix your life. And if you want to check out any of these player props on Underdog Fantasy, you can find the link down there in the comment section. You can find the link in the description. When you sign up for Underdog and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. So it's pretty much free to check out and available in damn near every state. Plus is where we get our drafts if you want to draft with us on the live stream. But I think that should be about it. Let's go ahead. Let's pull up this live chat. And let's switch over to these injuries. Starting off with an offense we want nothing to do with. Obviously, nobody wants anything to do with it. Houston. I mean, it's laughable. You have no Brandon Cooks. Not only do you have no Brandon Cooks, but at the same time, we have no Nico Collins. We don't know who the running back's going to be. So I will say, for the love of God, do not start anybody in Houston. The only way you can start someone in Houston is if Jeff Driscoll has tight end eligibility. If you think he's the guy and that's confirmed, if you want to try to make a Taysom Hill play, go for it. I'm not even that confident in it until we get official word, but I just want to be out there saying, don't try to get cute with it, even if it's an okay matchup going up against the Kansas City Chiefs where they're going to have to throw the ball. Please, for the love of God, just bench everyone. Now, going over to our next spot, we're going to be looking at Denver, where we have Courtland Sutton out. I mean, I think this was the expectation. We obviously know KJ Hamler out for the rest of the season. I mean, at the same time, Tim Patrick went down before the season even started. And now you're looking at Kendall Hinton being out. So 4 of the top 5 wide receivers for the Denver Broncos are not playing in this game. You know what that means? Just like a week ago, probably about time to go through and fire up a Mr. Jerry Jeudy. Now, I am a little hesitant to tell you that Jerry Jeudy is a must-start guy as he was last week. Obviously, coming off a monstrous performance. I mean, Jerry Jeudy was phenomenal a week ago. The man literally had 3 touchdowns. If we're looking at the quarterback situation, I know Russ has not been good, so maybe you think, oh, okay, Russell Wilson being out of here doesn't really matter. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if you were getting Brett Rippon, what are we expecting? How bad is this Denver Broncos offense going to be? If I'm going through and pulling up the implied team totals for this week, obviously, we're going to have both these offenses with the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos sitting near the very bottom. I mean, right now you have the Texans projected to score about 17.5 points. And you know what? Vegas is kind of telling us that it doesn't matter if Russ is out. You got the Broncos at 20. So you know what? Maybe if that's what Las Vegas is telling us, you got to go through. You have to play Jerry Jeudy as well as Greg Dulcich, just because there's nobody left in Denver. Now, going over to Kansas City, Mahomes good to go. Don't worry about it. I mean, Kadarius Toney, questionable. Kadarius Toney's been limited in practice all week now. Now, should you play Kadarius Toney? Hell to the no. I don't even really like playing Juju Smith-Schuster. Houston does not really allow any points to the wide receiver position, or at least they haven't this season. Does that have to do with Houston having some phenomenal pass defense? No, it's because you're going up against Houston Texans. The Kansas City Chiefs are 14-point favorites. They're going to be able to just run the ball in the second half. But now let's go over to our next spot in Seattle. I mean, very bad news for everybody who had Tyler Lockett, specifically in best ball. I mean, he had been one of the best wide receiver picks in best ball this year. I mean, the man dealing with an injury, it sounds like he is not going to be playing week 16. There's an outside chance that he's good to go week 17. Obviously, this will be something that you have to continue to monitor. It does really suck. Now, going over to Chicago, Chase Claypool not playing. Justin Fields should be good to go. And with Justin Fields, I don't think he's great. I don't think he's good, except for a fantasy football perspective. In fantasy, Justin Fields has more rushing upside than almost any other quarterback that you can find. So from a fantasy football standpoint, you can go through and start Justin Fields. Everybody else in Chicago should be benched, in my opinion. I mean, even if Cole Kmet's the last guy standing, the last guy to actually draw targets, it's a very tough matchup going up against Philadelphia. But now let's go over to Pittsburgh, where Deontay Johnson, good to go. But do you start Deontay Johnson? Hell to the no. Pat Freiermuth, good to go as well. Pat Freiermuth, you can start him just because all tight ends in fantasy are disgusting. And Freiermuth is going to draw targets, but we will see this later on. I accidentally got this out of order. You actually have Trubisky most likely starting. Najee Harris will be good to go as well. With Najee Harris, you can start him against Carolina, just given the matchup. But going back to what we were saying, very bad offense. Right now, you actually have the Carolina Panthers favored in this game, as crazy as that is. But now going over to New England, sounds like Jakobi Meyers may be good to go. This will be something that you have to continue to monitor. Honestly, not going to care too much about Jakobi Meyers one way or another, but someone that I will care about, Ramondre Stevenson may actually play. Now, I don't want to sit here and tell you, you got to plan on starting Ramondre Stevenson, yada, yada, yada. I mean, with Ramondre, if he does play, of course he's going to smash. Of course, you should have Ramondre Stevenson coming out, giving you 90 total yards, giving you 8 targets out of the backfield. I don't really think there's anybody going to be arguing against that. Now, the issue is, obviously, we have 3 Saturday games. So you have 3 Saturday games with running backs that you have to decide if you're going to be able to be started. And then you also have Ramondre Stevenson playing at 3 p.m. Central. So let's count the amount of games that are being kicked off before Ramondre Stevenson's status is known. 1 on Thursday, 3 on Saturday, and then on Sunday on the main slate, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. So 10 total games are going to be started where you would have to figure out that starting lineup. And if Ramondre Stevenson would be good to go, it's a very, very difficult spot to be in that if he does play, obviously he's a must-start guy, but we just don't know. Now, going over to Treylon Burks, we do know that Treylon Burks is going to be out for this reason. If you wanted to go through, play the rookie tight end in Tennessee, I think he will be viable. I am not as excited as a lot of other people, though, knowing that they're still using Austin Hooper. It is a tight end by committee. Now, going over to Cincinnati, keep in mind, I am the idiot who told you to play T. Higgins last week. Okay. Full transparency, we had people out in the live stream telling me, oh, Mason, I'm kind of worried. Last time T. Higgins was questionable against Baltimore, I started him, and T. Higgins gave me 0 fantasy points. Should I be worried about T. Higgins? And I laughed. I went, oh, ha, 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 ha. That is so funny. Why would you ever be worried about that? No, if T. Higgins plays, you play T. Higgins. A fantasy football is easy. T. Higgins played 1 snap last week. T. Higgins made us look like a fool, as always. So with that in mind, I am going right back to the well. With that in mind, I am going right back to saying if T. Higgins is practicing in full and T. Higgins is good to go, I'm starting T. Higgins. You have Tyler Boyd probably playing as well. That's not going to matter too much. Hayden Hurst is going to be out. Hayden Hurst being out, I mean, may bump more targets over to guys like Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Now going over to the Jets. Oh my gosh, obviously a lot to talk about. Corey Davis going to be out this game. I mean, last week after Corey Davis left, I mean, you had Elijah Moore seeing a decent amount of snaps. Elijah Moore, I mean, was actually a wide receiver playing pretty much every single down, running pretty much every route possible, which was a night and day difference compared to what we previously had. But the main question is, can we trust it? Because Mike White is out. And this is your starting quarterback. So you had previously the Jets favored by a point in this game. That is flipped over to the Detroit Lions side, where now the Lions are favored by about 1.5, depending on the sports book that you're looking at. So it's a very interesting spot. And that Vegas is telling us that this clearly matters. If you look at guys like Garrett Wilson has averaged about 20 points per game in fantasy when Zach Wilson does not play. But in games with Zach Wilson, he has averaged fewer than 10 points. It's a night and day difference. This has to matter. This is not good news. Garrett Wilson was previously a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 for us. I still like the matchup going up against Detroit, but you got to be moving him down. I mean, it's just weird seeing the entire team get behind Mike White and pretty much everybody be willing to throw Zach Wilson under the bus. And then you have Wilson back in. But now going over to Kenny Pickett most likely not going to be playing for Pittsburgh. I mean, if Pickett's out, I'm assuming we have Trubisky, and it's not something to be excited about. The lines actually moved where Carolina's now favored 3 points in this game. Previous to this, I believe they were favored by about 2.5. So, I mean, it's not great. You don't want to be starting anybody for Pittsburgh outside of Najee Harris based off of just raw volume. And then also Pat Freiermuth just because he's the last tight end that gets targets in fantasy. But I think that should be it with the injuries. I see we have a couple questions. Let me answer these one in this. Scar Ice D coming out. Thank you. Says, hey, Mason, hope all's well. Sit start question for the flex spot. Gallup, Donovan Peoples, Jones, Thielen, or Elijah Moore this week in the standard scoring format. Thanks for all you do. No, thank you so much, my friend, for supporting the channel. Thank you for throwing us a softball question here. I think that we are going to go ahead. We're going to play Donovan Peoples, Jones over Gallup, Thielen, and Elijah Moore now that you have Zach Wilson. And Jay Guy says, thanks for getting me into the playoffs, dude. Help me with the lineup. 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. We have Chase, Stardom, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, Devonta Smith. I'll still start Garrett Wilson out of the group. JT, Saquon, Connor, Pacheco. We're going to start JT, Saquon, and then Connor in the flex. But I think that's it for this live stream. Of course, thank you so much. We will be live later tonight answering all fantasy football questions. We'll be live with a fantasy football draft as well. If you want to get in a draft with us, if you want to check out any of these player props, you can find the link to Underdog in the comment section in the description. They'll match your first deposit 100% up to $200 with promo code FLOCK. So it's pretty much free for you to check out and available in damn near every state. But thank you again. I appreciate you and hope you have a great day. Hope we get to see you with the live stream tonight as well.